met Jennifer Weinstein. Here you are. We'll be talking just about the health index for ALD.
So thank you so much for inviting me to come and speak today. My name is Jennifer Weinstein, and I work with Dr. Chad Heatwall at an outcomes group at the University of Rochester. And we recently completed two new outcome measures, patient-reported outcome measures, the Adrenoleukodystrophy Health Index and the Adrenomyeloneuropathy Health Index. So actually, I need to go backwards. I wanted to just say, first of all, that we are so grateful to ALD Connect for all of their efforts with recruitment for our studies, making this possible. These instruments were funded by Swan Bio and Autobahn. And so we're really pleased that they're now ready for use. Just to start off, I wanted to highlight the importance of PROs in clinical trials. The FDA has identified patient and observer reported outcome measures as acceptable and often preferable ways to measure disease burden during therapeutic trials. And as you all know, a PRO underscores the notion that no one understands a patient's experiences, struggles, and triumphs better than the patient themselves. A disease-specific PRO measures symptoms and symptomatic areas of greatest importance to the patient. They have higher relevance in content validity. They have increased sensitivity to detect change and also detect meaningful therapeutic change that can often not be measured by more functional outcome measures or biomarkers. A properly designed and validated regulatory grade PRO must possess all these characteristics, which there are numerous, and for that reason, it takes often 2 years to develop and validate these instruments. So our research objective was to develop and validate these two disease-specific patient-reported outcome measures, and specifically for use in therapeutic trials and in FDA drug labeling claims. So the methodological framework necessary for this is multi-step and sequential. It involves a great deal of patient input, a cross-sectional survey, factor analysis, data assessments, test-retest evaluation, factor analysis, and known groups analyses. So starting at the beginning, our instrument development involved conducting qualitative interviews with 17 adults with ALD and/or AMN, and using open-ended questions, we ascertained the symptoms that had the greatest impact on their life. So from these interviews, we obtained over 1,700 direct quotes that help characterize the symptomatic burden. These potential symptoms of importance during the qualitative interviews were then the basis of developing a cross-sectional survey consisting of 180 symptoms and 24 symptomatic themes. This cross-sectional survey then assesses the prevalence and importance of these symptoms in a larger population of patients. So at this point, I would like to thank all the international partners in the audience because we had, I believe, 16 different countries represented in our cross-sectional survey results, and all of the recruitment partners that you see here listed. So overall, we had a sample of 109 participants. The sample was 57% male, with an age range of 18 to 83 years, and was predominantly white, non-Hispanic. We have a bunch of different rates of prevalence. These are not mutually exclusive. So we had 65% reporting a diagnosis of AMN and 54% reporting ALD. Our sample was predominantly employed full-time or retired. 55% of our respondents agreed that ALD AMN has impacted their employment status or choice. We saw a greater diversity with regard to educational level. However, the vast majority of participants agreed that this disease prevented them from pursuing additional education. So once again, a few more demographic details. Over half the sample reported being married, 32% indicating that their disease has impacted their marital status or decision to pursue relationships. And over 75% of our sample walked independently or primarily used a cane or crutches. We had no participants reporting experiencing a severe disability, and the majority of participants indicated their functional status as no significant disability, slight or moderate disability. And 82% indicated the ability to speak clearly. This figure displays the prevalence and mean impact of each symptomatic theme as reported by the patients. So the most prevalent themes indicated in blue were problems with balance, limitations with mobility or walking, fatigue, and leg weakness. Then, as you see in orange, those are the most impactful themes, and that was trouble getting around, leg weakness, problems with balance, and inability to do activities, and limitations with mobility or walking. You will note there are a couple symptomatic themes where they have a prevalence that is lower than their impact, such as breathing difficulties and seizures. So this cross-sectional survey serves as the basis for the development of the first version of the health indices. So we use several criteria to assess if a question or symptom is appropriate. So they must be highly relevant to patients, amenable to therapeutic intervention, applicable to a broad population, and consistently understood. So the first version of the ALD high contained 90 questions representing 20 symptomatic themes, and the AMN high was 78 symptoms with 15 symptomatic themes. The next phase of the process is beta testing. And this is for the purpose of ensuring that the instruments are clear, relevant, easy to use, and accepted by patients. And once we're done with that, we then refine the instrument based on the results. We then conduct retest reliability. Participants are asked to complete the instrument at baseline and then again 14 days later. Any item with a low weighted kappa score is then considered for removal. And then finally, we perform a confirmatory factor analysis and evaluate internal consistency using Cronbach's alpha. And as you can see, the internal consistency of the ALD high and the AMN high are both extremely high at 0.98. So this is a list of the final symptomatic subscales that are part of the ALD high. And as I mentioned, there are 20 of them. For the AMN high, it is 15 symptomatic subscales. One final form of analysis that we conduct is known groups. And essentially, this is what we use to ensure that the instrument can differentiate between patients with greater or lesser disease burden. This is showing the ALD high by disability status. And as you can see, it does for the areas with statistical significance have the asterisk. And this is also, okay, one more. And this is also by fit of ability. AMN high as well, and then I'll skip to the juicy part. So this is by the total score known groups. And so essentially, this is just displaying the different subgroups where the instrument is able to sensitively discern between lesser and greater disease burden for both of these. So in summary, the final ALD high has 80 symptom questions, 20 symptomatic themes. It can be completed by a patient without external administration in just under 7 minutes. And the AMN high is 71 symptoms, 15 symptomatic themes, and takes about 8.5 minutes. And with that, I just want to thank you all, and I'm happy to answer some questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Very helpful. Any questions?
Are you still taking applications for the survey?
No, so the cross-sectional survey was kind of the second phase of our instrument development process, and that occurred November 2021 through January 2022. And so it's distributed by a public link, and so we rely upon our recruitment partnerships for them to distribute it to those people in their registries who have obviously, reported the diagnosis of interest.
Any other questions? Oh, wait, got one over there.
Hi, thank you very much. Excellent work. I have two questions. Firstly, could you clarify the differentiation between ALD versus AMN?
The symptomatic themes that you're talking, are you talking about that in the instrument, the symptomatic themes? Let me back up. These?
No, later on in the slides.
Oh, okay. The known groups analysis?
I think maybe one more. Yeah. So, I mean, just there we go. Between ALD and AMN.
There is no comparison between ALD and AMN. They're separate instruments, and so the validation process was done independently with each of those diagnoses. So this known groups comparison is comparing two different, for example, here it's by age of onset. So those who reported having an age of onset younger than the mean versus those older than the mean. And the instrument is able to discern that if you have a younger age of onset, you generally have a greater disease burden.
So AMN as an instrument is used for individuals who are symptomatic with a diagnosis of AMN?
Yes, yes. And it at the onset of our research, it was imperative to us to let the data determine whether this would actually be one instrument or two separate instruments.
Okay.
And based upon the results from the cross-sectional survey, there were statistically significant differences in prevalence. So we did opt to move towards two separate instruments.
Does this for all sexes?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you very much. Yeah. And the second question is, from your cross-sectional data, do you have maybe like a ranking of which of these subdomains were the highest?
Yes.
Or did I might have missed that?
Nope, I did that. Sorry, one moment, let me back up here. Oops, right here. So this essentially provides a ranking by prevalence and impact. And so I can give you what the exact prevalence was for various things. Problems with balance was reported by 90.8% of the sample, 87.2% limitations with mobility or walking, 86.2% fatigue, and 86.2% leg weakness.
Thank you. One final super quick question.
Yeah.
prevalence is just reported presence of, or is this the patient reported, this is
This is all
important?
patient reported data.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
No problem. Okay.